welcome to the episode 4 of Pathways to the Ivies episode. Today on our show, we have the very young and very beautiful Yuvika Agarwal. She goes to the Flame University. She is a second year student.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kindly.
She is a second year student at the Flame University, majoring in data sciences and economics. And today we are going to learn about her journey getting into Flame. What did she do? What did her profile look like? And how has the Flame experience been for her? What her future journey would entail? And all the good stuff. I know a lot of people out there want to go for liberal arts schools like the Flame. And we're going to use this podcast to debunk and understand everything that you need to do in terms of getting into Flame, including the admissions process. What is it that a student should keep in mind? How does the Flame evaluate an application and all the good stuff? So, Yuvika, welcome to the show. Super happy to have you on the show, and I look forward to having you over. If you can just go ahead and introduce yourself, besides what I did, to our viewers in a way people would like to know, like stuff about you. That would be great, Yuvika.
Thank you so much, Reema ma'am. So, hi, I'm Yuvika Agrawal. I am currently 19 years old and I'm studying data science and economics at Flame, as Reema ma'am has already mentioned. I have tried a bunch of different boards like ICSE A levels, and after all of that, I decided to finally go for liberal arts, and it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. Flame as a university is very different from what I expected, very different in a very good way, and I'm very glad that I chose Flame.
Wonderful. So let's start with a little bit of your background. You were in an ICSE school up till your 10th grade, and then you made a switch to A levels. So could you just let our viewers know a little bit about that switch? Like, a lot of times people come back and say, hey, the styles of learning are very different from an ICSE to A levels, which is a Cambridge board. So how did that pan out for you? What was different? What was good? What was something you wish you would have known early on, so that your transition would have been smoother?
So when I was transitioning from Thakur Public to Utpal Sangvi, a lot of people told me that it's going to be really tough. Even our principal told my parents that I won't be able to cope up and everything. So I was really scared about it. But once I started, I realized that my subjects in A levels were economics, math, psychology, media studies, and English. And I always had a very keen liking for math, and I realized that the math part is very similar in both the boards, and I didn't face a lot of difficulties. In fact, I was very good for like my standing at my school. The subjects like economics was something like a subject like economics was something that I was really struggling with. One of the reason could be that I that's what I feel that the people that had already studied Cambridge board in their 9th 10th grade and had economics had a very similar portion to that in the 11th 12th, so they already had an idea of what the subject looks like, and I was very new to economics, so I didn't have any idea as to what was going on. So that is one subject that I really struggled with. But otherwise, the way of teaching and everything was very similar, if you have to ask me. Although I was a COVID board, so I don't have the best idea about it, but at the same time I love both the boards, and I would definitely recommend studying ICSE till the 10th grade because it shows you rigor, it shows you how to just work hard in all situations. And whereas A levels give you this level of understanding that okay, what I'm studying I need to understand because this is what's going to help me in the future. Mugging up isn't going to help me. So I think it's the two sides of the same coin. So I loved both the boards.
What was your hardest transition? Like, what's a piece of advice you will give to somebody who's wanting to transition from an ICSE to an A levels, or maybe an IBDP, which is still an international board? What's like a piece of advice that it's a big myth that people think, oh my god, this is like whatever, right? And you would say, hey, you know what, these are like two or three things you can keep in mind, and I am sure this transition will be very easy for you.
I'd say that people are gonna scare you and be like, "Oh, you come from an ICSE board, you're gonna struggle a lot." Just don't focus on it because that itself demotivates you a lot. So like, don't think about it. But at the same time, don't get afraid of asking for help. There are few subjects that you will need extra help for, and if you take that extra help, there'll be no difference coming from an ICSE background or an international background. It's all the same. Just just be focused on what you're doing, and you'll be fine.
Wonderful. So, you've already mentioned your subjects, on your A levels. What was your rationale in choosing those subjects? Like as you mentioned that you liked math, but were you always sure that data science and economics is something that you want to go for? What was your thought process when you selected those subjects? And what should the thought process of a student who's aspiring to do data sciences and economics be while they're choosing subjects at the A levels?
So when I was choosing my subject, I wasn't sure I wanted to do data science and economics. I was exploring, and that's why I even took five subjects at my A levels, although only four were compulsory, thinking that I'll drop one because I wanted to explore before I shut down all my options, because I thought I was too young to make a decision and I didn't want to regret it later. So that's why I took subjects which were really diverse. As you can see, there was economics and there was psychology and there was media studies. They all come from very different backgrounds. So I'm very glad that I did take these subjects, because even though I decided to take data science and economics, I was at peace knowing that I've tried psychology and I know that after trying it that I don't want to take it. It was just more convincing for me. Like, I didn't feel any regret when I was taking data science and economics in my first year at Flame, because I knew that, okay, you know what? I know how it was and I know that I don't want to get into that. So that was one of the things that I really liked about the diverse subjects that I took. And I took media studies as a hobby. I just wanted to explore and I just wanted to have fun, and so I decided to take it. And I had initially thought that, you know what, I'll probably drop it. It's an extra subject, but it was so interesting and I had so much fun that I decided to continue with it. So if I had to give an advice to people selecting the subject at A levels, I'd tell them that just don't think about, oh, this subject will lead me here. Just focus if you like the subject as a whole, because if you, especially if you're going to a liberal arts university, you're not hell-bent. Like, if you didn't do psychology in your 11th 12th grade, you can still do psychology from your first year, and that is for most of the subjects except for physics and math subjects. So you know what, just explore the subjects that you personally like and then see if you can actually make a career in it.
Wonderful. So, I also wanted to understand, why did you choose to study in India after doing A levels, as compared to going abroad? Even though you went to a liberal arts school, and we will tackle that part of it, why liberal arts versus something else. But a lot of people who usually pursue A levels or IBDP, the mindset is that I will go abroad and I will study there and I do my undergrad there. Why was your mindset of studying here, and what made you choose India over all the other countries that are there out there?
So when I was doing my research, I spoke to a lot of people, and one thing that everybody kept telling me was the undergraduate level study in India and abroad are almost as good as each other. So that was one factor. And I'm an only child, and I'm a girl, and my parents were very pessimistic if I'm ready to go abroad after my 12th grade. So they decided, how about we just let you like a little far away from home, where you try, like, you get your own independence, but at the same time we get to be around you. Like, if something goes wrong, with there. So this was like a trial run, if I can call it that, for the future. So when I go abroad, this is what it's going to look like. And I chose liberal arts because, again, it gives me a very international level of studying and all of that. So Flame University felt like the perfect between India and abroad, where I get to stay in India close to my family, safe and sound, and at the same time I get the quality of studies that I would get if I would go abroad. So that's why I decided to stay in India.
Okay. Talking about Flame, like, what do you think? I mean, there are quite a few liberal arts schools in India, and you chose Flame, and I'm sure a lot of them also offer data sciences and economics. Why Flame? Like, tell us 3 points to the viewers that, these are the three reasons Flame is a perfect fit for somebody who's aspiring to do data sciences or any of the other liberal arts courses.
So Flame has an amazing infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I mean the facilities. It's not just about education, it's about a holistic growth. But I really, really like about Flame. The faculty are very, very warm. And the all this, even the academic buildings, the libraries, and everything are so like, elaborate that it has a very feel good factor when you're studying at Flame, and that itself is a big motivation. At least for me, I wanted to go to a university that I personally like a lot. So Flame was one of the reason was that. Second was Flame's data science and economics program was really new. So I knew that they'll have a lot of attention on the batches that are coming in. So our batch size is really small. We just have 21 students right now for data science and economics. So they have this special attention on us. They know what we're doing. They're tracking what we're doing. Any extra help are always there, and I think that was a very big key factor for choosing this. And at the same time, it's closer to home. So those are the three reasons I chose Flame.
Wonderful. And what, so if somebody was aspiring to go to Flame, what kind of profile should they be looking at? If you can, list a couple of things that you did, and we can dive a little deeper in terms of, each of those things. But if you can list a couple of things that you did, let's categorize in that into academics, test prep, and community work, right? Or the miscellaneous work. So let's talk about academics. How important are academics if somebody wanted to get into Flame?
I think academics are really important. Flame does expect like a certain level of percentage or marks when it comes to academics when considering a student. So although I had really good, so when I had applied, I had to apply with my predicted scores. So I had a decent predicted score, and even my 10th grade marks were really good. So I think that does play a very very important role for Flame. Although it's not like they expect somebody coming from a 95% from the 12th grade or something. Even if you have a 85% or an 80% and you have a good profile, like a good overall profile, like extracurriculars and volunteer work and all of that, Flame does accept you. So yeah, I had a decent score. When it comes to community service, they do have a lot of community service clubs and all at Flame. So they have this certain level of expectations that the student themselves also indulges in some level of community work before coming to Flame. In fact, if when we're talking about community service, Flame has this program called as DAP, where in after your first year in the summers you're supposed to work in a NGO for at least 2 months, and it's a I think 3 or 4 credit course, and you get credits based on the work that you do in the NGO. There are vivas, you have to write a report on it. So Flame itself indulges, I mean, encourages students to indulge into community service, so it is very important for them. When it comes to me and community service, before coming to Flame, I used to teach students online up to 10th grade that come from a little from the NGOs. I even indulges in beach cleanups, or like I used to go for school paintings, municipality school paintings, and I had a bunch of other work that I was doing with this organization called as Connect For, that used to connect me with different NGOs.
Wonderful. And so what is the lowest score you've heard somebody, let's say somebody's coming from A levels or like a CBSE or ICSE, can you give a ballpark of scores, for our students, that hey, if you get like around this score, you can definitely expect to get into Flame. So let's say somebody is in A levels, what is it like, approximately what is it that they're expecting? ICSE, CBSE, state board, and even IBDP. These are the only words I can think of, but if you can just give our viewers a ballpark idea.
I think before just judging you based on your score, they still call you for an interview no matter what. And during the interview, they judge you more like the way you talk, your level of English, and all of that. And they do judge you based on that as well. But when it comes to scores, I'd say for ICSE, they'd probably like take you in with a 75-80%. Um, for CBSE as well. For A levels, IB, a lot of my friends have like really good score, like 40 and all of that. But even there are, but I'm sure they take students that have like 32, 33 for IB. And when it comes to A levels, I'll say probably a B is something that would be considered by Flame as well. So they're not very picky when it comes to grades, but at the same time, they wouldn't want somebody who's constantly failing as well, obviously. But yeah, again, when it comes to interviews, they do judge you a lot on your own skills rather than your grades. Yes, yeah.
Wonderful. And so we've done the academics part of it. Now I'd like to talk about the entrance exam. There's a lot of confusion with regards to this, and I'm myself confused. Some people say Flame accepts the SAT exam. Some say, despite the SAT exam, you still have to take their internal FIT exam, which is Flame. What is the full form of FIT?
I'm not sure if it's FEAT. I think
FEAT.
flame aptitude test or something.
We should. It just says feet,
Flame
right?
entrance aptitude test. Yeah, flame entrance aptitude test.
Yeah. So some people say you have to take the SAT. Some people say you have to take the FEAT, which is Flame Entrance Aptitude Test. Some people say you have to take both. So if you can just tell the viewers which one is it, like, can you still have the SAT and get into Flame and not take the FEAT, or you need to take the FEAT and need to take the SAT, or you just need to take the FEAT and you're good to go. Which one is it? Let's categorize each one of them. Does Flame take the SAT?
Yes, it does accept SAT scores. So, if you have given your SATs and if you want Flame to consider them, you can just submit your marks and you don't have to give the FEAT. But at the same time, you can just submit your essays. I mean, you need to still give the essay exam on their portal. Like you won't get a leeway for the essays even if you give your SAT scores. So you have two options: either you submit your SAT scores and not give the math and the verbal paper for FEAT, or you just give your FEAT in general. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think we should rephrase this again. You can say that, you have two options for a student to take the exam. Either you take your SAT exam and then you're exempted from taking the FEAT, or you take the FEAT and you're exempted from taking the SAT exam. And of course, Flame will consider the score that is there. What you're talking about is basically applications. वो अलग part हो जाता है. The
No, no,
essay
no.
part.
I'm not talking about the application. Even when you're giving the FAT, there's a how every even a Shoka and everything had this part where you have to write the essay while you're on video call with them. Like FAT, when they used to monitor you, you have to write an essay like that, on the spot essay. I think it's called the on the spot essay only. No, you remember? So there's this thing called as the essay, and you're supposed to write it in front of them. The application essay is different.
Okay,
This
so
essay
you're
is in
saying that
front of them.
despite taking the SAT, you have to take the FEAT ka essay portion of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's rephrase this answer saying that before I dive into this,
Hmm.
FEAT test has two parts. One is the multiple choice part and one is the essay writing part. If somebody you need to either submit the SAT or FEAT to get into Flame. If you're submitting your SAT scores, you're exempted from taking the multiple choice portion of FEAT, but you are still required to take the the essay part of it. And if you're taking the FEAT, then you're not supposed to take the SAT score SAT test. You can just take the FEAT in totality with the multiple choice and the essay portion of it.
Okay.
Okay, so you can just say that. Go ahead.
So before we dive into this, I would like to clarify that when it comes to FET, there are two parts. One is the MCQ part of the exam, and one is the essay part of it. So when you give your SATs, you have two options. Either you submit your SAT scores and get exempted from the FEAT MCQ part of it, or you don't submit your SAT scores and you give the FEAT exams. So if you submit your SAT scores, you still have to give the essay part of the entrance exam. And apart from that, if you don't, even if you have given the SAT, you still have the choice of not submitting the scores and still giving the FEAT. If you think you're not, if you don't like your scores, or if you think you can do better, you can always just opt out and not submit it, even if you have taken it.
Wonderful. And basis what your interaction with your friends and your everybody who's taken, which one is easy? Because that's one of the most one of the questions. Because a lot of liberal arts schools in India take the SAT, which becomes one test that applies to all. Or then you need to take these little exams, like Flame will have it something of its own, something else will have something of its own. So then you in hindsight you end up preparing for like 10 tests instead of one SAT. But to debunk the myth, do you think SAT is easier or do you think the feat is easier? And is there a preference of one over the other when it comes to admissions?
So I would say that FEAT was comparatively easier because when it comes to SAT, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. You expect a certain level of score and you want to achieve it, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. But when it comes to FEAT, you know that this is about my learning, it's about my application and how good I am at it. So people don't usually indulge so much into studying for it. They don't prepare for it for months. It is basic application. That is something that we have learned in our schools while growing up, so it's not as tedious as SAT is. And from my observation, a lot of people at Flame, they prefer going for the FEAT rather than submitting the SAT scores, because it makes more sense for them, because SAT is usually for people that are going abroad. So people usually don't want to spend so much by for if they know that they want to stay back in India, they don't want to prepare for it. They don't want to go out and give an external exam for it. So people prefer the FEAT when it comes to flame.
Wonderful. So that's good to know. Now let's talk a little bit about your application and the stuff that you had done. Which is the extracurricular part of it, which is the third part of this entire, which is the third part of this entire process. Covered academics, covered the internal. I mean, you covered the entrance exams, and now we're talking about what did you do. So I can very clearly see that you have a few research papers, which is the psycho-socio support system from young adults. I also see you've taken a lot of, like you have a lot of awards. So if you can elaborate on, like let's say five activities that you did as a part of your profile building that kind of helped you in detail for our audience, just five, not more. That would be perfect.
So starting with the research, as you've mentioned, that was something that I fully indulged in to build my CV, because I personally think that a research paper shows like the person that's just reviewing your application, that you're very dedicated towards what you're doing and you want to indulge in it fully with all your heart, body, soul, and mind. So it does add a lot to your CV, in my opinion. And the other thing was being the house captain at Utpal, which is the college that I was in. I think it shows leadership skills. It shows that you're fully like your body is fully active and is present in the school that you're currently at, and you want to give back as much as you can. It shows a lot about you as a person if you indulge in activities like that. So I think house captain was again something that I did for my CV. Even other things like being the PR head at my school's economics club, which was the Invisible Hands. I think I knew that I had some nudge that okay, I probably want to do something in the area of economics. And whatever I was doing till now was all based on psychology, and my CV was getting built fully on psychology, and I wasn't sure if I want to pursue psychology in the future. So to to set my CV in a different direction, I brought up economics, and I thought, okay, if I get a position in the economics club as an EC member, that would add value to my CV. So that was that. Internships, I think internships are very very integral for a CV. It shows that you want to know what the real world looks like. It shows you, and more than that, it even prepares you. It's not even just about the CV, but it prepares you for the real world. So internship is one thing that I did. Again, I did an internship in the field of psychology. I used to work at a clinic for a psychologist and a psychiatrist. So and that was one of the reasons that I decided not to go ahead with psychology as a major, because I realized that that's not my personal cup of tea, and I'm more of a math person, so I should try something in that field. So that was one part. But even as a CV, as a part of a CV, it looks really good because it shows that you're trying. You have that drive to at least do something, when even though nobody's like behind your back and forcing you to do it. And the fifth would be a hobby, maybe like a instrument or a sport. I think that really adds a lot. So I used to play the guitar, and I do play tennis as a sport, lawn tennis. So I added those in my CV. But any instrument and any sport, it just shows that you're an active person, and you do something to keep your mind fresh, and you have a routine outside the academic life. So a hobby also makes a very huge difference.
Perfect. I also I want you to tell our viewers, and this is one of the biggest questions that, kids, when they kind of talk to me, they're like, oh, but in India, you cannot get an internship when you're under 18, unfortunately, because we're protected by the labor laws, which is not very similar to the West, right? So, of course, one way to get an internship is go through one of these internship programs, or you have somebody in friends family who's willing to train you. But if somebody, like, if both of these cases didn't work out, meaning you didn't want to go for an internship where you're paying an organization, or you didn't have enough friends and family to recommend you, refer you, train you, how can you go about finding an internship of your choice, and how can you persuade somebody to kind of get you to train you, like show, demonstrate that, hey, I'm willing to, kind of go ahead and get and do what we can do.
So, first of all, to be very honest, it's really difficult to get such an internship in India, but it's not impossible. So, what one thing that these students can do is go through LinkedIn. It's gonna send you 100 emails, 100 opportunities. Your job is to apply to each and every one of them. I guarantee you that at least 5 to 7 would respond back, and you will get an opportunity. Maybe it's not gonna be the best, but that's how you start. You need to start taking up whatever you get, and you just start building onto your CV, because by the time you want to actually get an internship that adds the utmost value to you, they're going to look at these smaller parts, and that is what's going to help you out. If you do these smaller internships, when you and your friends are looking for an internship when you're 20 or 21, they're going to be like, oh, you have work experience, you can talk about what you observed and all of it, and it will hold a lot of weightage. So I think it is not impossible, but it is a very tedious task, but again, a very integral part of your entire internship journey.
Absolutely. Another very good point that you brought up in this entire conversation is your internship. It was in psychology, but you chose a field that was data sciences and economics, which is not at all related. In fact, you've been candid enough to admit to the fact that the internship taught you that, hey, this is not what I'm cut out for, right? So, would you give your viewpoint to our viewers and listeners as to, why do you think it's okay to do an internship that's not related and only to find out that this is not what I aim for? And how do colleges like Flame not see in a negative light but instead in a positive light? What's your take on this?
So, wait, sorry, can you repeat your first part? I forgot the first part of the question.
The first part is that you ended up doing an internship which is not related to your major. So what's your take on the fact that you went to an internship, realized this is not cut out for me, and how colleges are not going to view this in the negative light? They're actually going to view it in a positive light, that okay, you at least tried.
Okay, so yeah, when it comes to these internships, I always had a knack for psychology, so that is what drove me to try it out in the first place. And I think that was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because I realized at a very early stage in my life that it wasn't meant for me. And it just, constantly kept making me think that what if I actually took this up without trying an actual internship? Because it all looked very fancy and nice and flowery in the textbook. But when it had to be practiced in person, I realized that I don't have so much emotional strength in me to be there for somebody else. Like, it everybody else's story used to bother me when they used to walk into the psychology center and talk about their life, and I wasn't meant for it, because as a psychologist you need to make this certain level of wall between you and your client, where you don't let their personal story affect your personal life, which was happening with me. So I realized at a very early stage in life that if I take up psychology, it's gonna cost me a lot. So I had to leave. I didn't have an option but to still go ahead with psychology. And honestly, even I was worried that other colleges wouldn't take it in a good light. But that's the best part about liberal art universities. When they admit a student, they don't expect them to come with a proper mindset that, oh, I want to do this subject when I start my second year. They're so open. In fact, I don't know about other universities, but at least Flame, they really encourage you to try out each and every subject. They have this thing called as the five universes, and the
Wait, wait,
universes
wait.
are
We'll talk about it after.
okay.
Hang
Okay.
on. Cut it out.
Uh,
Yeah. So I think yeah, एक reel वाला part करते हैं. So what you can say over here is, as a student who has been through this journey of selecting schools, I really encourage you to try out internships for what you think you're a good fit. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know your major in advance. Liberal arts universities like Flame give you adequate choices. Let's put it, adequate ways in which you will eventually be able to figure out what your major is and how you can go about doing it. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to pursue internships in the wrong field. It's okay to select the wrong subjects. It's okay to not know. That's a journey, and that's how you're going to learn. Talk like you're genuinely advising 3-year-old Yuvika, who was concerned. That's this reel is that. Like 3-year-old as in Yuvika was 3 years
okay.
younger than who she's right now, not 3-year-old.
Good. Okay. Should I
Chalo.
start?
Yeah, start.
So, as somebody that has been through this journey of finding internships and going for one, All I'd want to say is it's fine. Make mistakes, but go for it. Making these mistakes is what will lead you to find your perfect fit. You will find your area of expertise only when you make these mistakes. And when it comes to colleges, liberal art universities do encourage these mistakes, if anything. In fact, they give you adequate ways to understand what you are good fit for. And when they realize that you as a person are trying to find that perfect fit for yourself, they'll be more than happy and they're not going to question you or reduce any marks from your profile for trying out and understanding what is perfect for you.
Perfect. So now
Was that
let's
fine?
jump to a part. It was very good, very good. It's exactly what I want, because people see, these are the concerns that I get, right? Oh, what if I get into a wrong internship? What if I choose the wrong subjects? It's okay. लोगों को लगता है अरे कॉलेज तो गलत गलत बताएगा. They will not see it. This is what you we want to address it, right? So that's why I said, you say if you were 3 years younger and you were consulting this current Yuvika, this is what she would say. So that's that. Okay. So now let's hop on to the next bit of it, which is the admissions process of Flame. If you can just debrief, like, what are the stages of this process, like, step number one, step number two, step number three, that would be perfect. After this question, I'll talk about, the five universes that you were just mentioning, and what does it feel like to be a student at Flame. But for now, if you can just let our viewers know what are the stages of admissions if somebody wanted to secure an admission at the Flame University.
So if you wanted to secure an admission at the Flame University, the first thing is going to their portal and filling out the application form. The application forms again talk about your previous grades, your background, your parents' address, your parents' details, your details, extracurriculars, and an essay section where they expect you to write essays. And I think they charge a minimal fee for I think around 2,000 rupees. At least that was 2 years ago when I filled out my application, and you can submit your application form. Then they send you an email saying you've been shortlisted for an interview. Then you give your interview, which is an online interview. You get a few days and you can select the day and the time that you want, and according to that they take the interview. There are three professors that or two or three professors that take your interview, and it's very conversational. I wouldn't want to scare anybody when it comes to those interviews. It's very smooth, it's a lot of fun, if anything. And once you get through the interviews, there is a FEAT. You give your FEAT exam, and like we mentioned, there are two sections. One is the essay part of it, and one is the MCQ part of it. And once you secure your position after you're done with your FET, like if you're selected, that's about it. They send you a letter of appointment. And if you have a scholarship, this is when they send you a letter for your scholarship as well.
Does Flame give out scholarships to students if somebody's struggling financially, or just generally, it has good merit? Does Flame encourage students to take in, or secure the admission by giving scholarship? Have you heard of it?
100%. There are 30 to 40% of the students on campus that are on scholarship. Even I'm one of them. I am on scholarship, merit scholarship. It can range from a really small amount, like 2.5 lakh, to 100% scholarship, even if you come from a really good family background. So Flame does hand out a lot of scholarships. And when it comes to need base, there is a different section for it. And if you fill out a form, Flame does give you need based scholarship as well.
Wonderful. So that's great for our audience to know. Can you also elaborate two things for me? Number one, number of rounds for admissions that Flame has, and number two, if let's say you did not get through in round number two, just giving you an example, are you allowed to apply in round number three or four? Do you know anything about that? Yeah.
As far as I know, Flame has early decisions first, and then it has 3 or 4 rounds of cycles. And no, I don't think so. That if you've been
No, no, you
rejected in
can,
the
you
first,
can. So I want you to make a reel out
oh,
of this, right? So basically,
oh,
I
you can.
realized this only when we had a student last year, where she didn't get through the first round, no, second round, like early decision, second round, and then they approached one of the trustees at Flame, and they said, "Why don't you apply in round number five?" So we came back and we were like, "How can you apply?" So trustee said that the rule of Flame says that if you did not get selected in the second one of the rounds, or you did not make it, you can apply like a fresher candidate in the second round or the third round, whatever, but you can only do it twice. That's the protocol.
Okay.
You cannot do it more than twice. This I'm very sure of.
Is it just for Flame?
It's only for Flame.
Okay.
It's only for flame. So let's say you do not get kind of shortlisted. You are allowed to do it for the second time, like, and it's a new application, fresh application. You will do
Oh,
everything again. Of course, if your feat score is there, that gets appended in there. You don't need to retake the feat, but you are allowed to do it twice in the entire admissions process. This I'm pretty sure of, because I had a student who did not make it through the second round. So she was a nervous student, इसलिए नहीं हुआ उसका interview देख के, she'll be like very
yeah.
scared and stuff like that. Then flame will not get you in. You need to be confident. That's the key. So if you can just tell this in a reel, that would be perfect. Or you can just start,
Okay. Once again, how many rounds of the how many admission cycles do they have?
I think four, to the best of my
Four,
knowledge.
right?
Four.
Including early decision.
Flame deadlines. Wait, let's see इस बार क्या है. So एक है, wait, let it load. So one is early decision, then there is like round one, two, three, and four. बराबर बोली मैं. So total five.
Okay.
You can start.
Uh, okay. So when it comes to the number of admission cycle, Flame has early decision and then followed by 4 rounds of admission cycles. And to answer your question, the second part of it, you Flame has this rule that you can apply twice. If you have been rejected the first time, you can still apply as a fresher in the second. I mean, the second or the third, or like the following rounds that come. And but the only criteria is you can't apply more than twice.
Wonderful. So let's assume that now you are a student who's made it to Flame, right? And it's a liberal arts school. Can you talk about what does the first year for any student from any major at Flame looks like? I understand, it's more or less common. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what does that curriculum look like, and how is it for people out there from any major getting into the very first year at Flame?
I'd say that every major and any major is treated very equally at Flame during the first year, and that is one of the best parts about Flame, because as it's a liberal arts college, it encourages you to try different subjects, and they want you to find the best fit for yourself. And because of that, they have come up with this curriculum where they have this thing called as the five universes, and all five are different. One is fine arts, fine and performing arts. One is physics, and there's English. There's all different parts of. Subjects that you can think of. And the best part is you have to, as like a compulsion, you have to take at least 3 courses from each universe to finish your first year requirements. So a student like me who wanted to pursue something like data science and economics, even I had to go through subjects like sculpture or theater, which is something that I my major doesn't really cling to. I think that is a very good part of Flame, because a lot of my friends realized through this journey that the major that they were looking for wasn't really meant for them. One of my friends, she was planning on doing psychology, but when she came to Flame and she went through the entire five universes, she realized that she has nothing to do with psychology and she's more inclined towards journalism. And so she picked up journalism in the second year. So a lot of students at Flame come up with a different mindset that, okay, you know what, when I go to my second year, this is the major I'm going to select. But they end up selecting something completely different, and Flame has no problem at all with that.
All right. So you're saying that you can enter with a different major but commit to a different one. What is a deadline to commit to a major? Do you have like a certain semester deadline that by this point in time you should declare a major? How does that work at Flame?
They don't give us a deadline, but they tell us that around the fourth term, which is the second semester of UG1, they'll send out a form, and that's the only time you have to tell them, okay, that from the second year I'll be studying this major, and there is no pressure at all before that for you to declare your major. There's no clock that they set on you saying that, oh, start thinking about it. Only when the time comes that they have to start allocating seats for their majors and everything for the second year, that's when they ask you that, okay, now you have to tell us what you want to do.
Wonderful. What about internships? You've been a year into Flame, going to your second year. How does the intern? Do they have inherent programs for internship? Do they pay you for internships? If yes, then yes. What is that? If no, then how does it look like for a student of Flame who's probably one or 2 years, into Flame? How open is the market to receive interns from students who are pursuing their respective majors from Flame?
So Flame has a career service department, the placement cell, that constantly keeps sharing different opportunities when it comes to internships. They have a lot of internships in the field of sales and management and all of that. A lot of big companies like PepsiCo and a bunch of companies come into Flame and they offer a lot of opportunities. And in fact, Flame has this course called as SIP, which is a 4 credit course in which after your second year, the summer breaks after the second year, you're supposed to work at an company and get an internship for at least 2 months. And after that, you again have to write reports and have a viva and everything, and based on that they give you grades. But it is compulsory for you to pass your second year, that you do this 4 credits course called as SIP, which is again their side of encouraging students to indulge in internships.
Wonderful. And how about full-time placements? Do students, do companies, do we have job fairs like we have in universities abroad, wherein companies come and they kind of hire? Does that happen with students at Flame as well, or Flame University as well, in terms of hiring or placements full-time after, or just before the students graduate?
I'm not sure if they have these companies come in as a fair, but I do know that the placement cells really help you with full time opportunities as well. After your UG3 or UG4, or if you're doing the PG as well, in your last year, in the end, they do help you find these sort of jobs.
Wonderful. And I know a lot of students, once they pursue their undergraduate degrees from liberal arts, they aspire to go abroad to pursue their postgraduate degrees. In fact, most of them want to go abroad to do their postgraduate, which has been a very common trend. So I wanted to understand that how have Flame students fared. If you of course know, you could come back and say I don't know, but how have Flame students fared in terms of getting securing masters placement, like getting into good schools for masters or MBA abroad, if you have any idea, and if you could let our viewers know.
Can you just give me a second? I have they just sent us this list of the colleges that the
Yeah, yeah, please
students
take your
got
time, we'll
into.
cut it out.
So I'll remove. Huh. So when it comes to masters, a lot of Flame students went to NYU, Duke, even Penn, University of Pennsylvania, and there are a bunch of different schools. So yeah, a lot of students from Flame after their UG go abroad, and the Flame really helps them out during this entire process. They have a counseling cell as well that helps you when you come in your UG3.
Wow, wonderful. And let's talk about the fee structure. So, what does the fees of Flame look like? Tuition plus boarding, because it's most people live on campus, I believe. So, what does a tuition for a year-on-year basis look like? What does a boarding and whatever meals, meal plans? What does that tentatively look like for a student who wants to pursue their undergraduate at Flame?
Can you tell me I don't know the bifurcation for each and
Now,
everything.
how will I know? You should know
Do you
that.
have it? I'll have a mail. I don't remember the bifurcation. My roommate also
Flame,
slept. One sec.
देखते हैं fees.
I know like a lump sum of it. I don't know the.
Let's see.
Where will I
Yeah, you
find
can
it?
just even say lump sum, but मैं online देखती हूँ अगर कुछ मिला है तो. So it says in
Yeah,
year one, your total fees come to about 10,45,000. Same for year two. For year three,
yeah,
it's up to 5% more. So it approximately comes to 11 lakh rupees with everything including lodging, boarding, program fees, other fees, everything inclusive. This does not include any travel cost that you incur while traveling back to your home or whatever. But the lodging, boarding, staying, eating, meals all come about. It says
yeah.
10:45, but 11 हो ही जाता होगा आराम से.
Yeah, yeah, it is around 11 only. If I'm not wrong, so I'll just start. If I'm not wrong, the fees comes up to lump sum 11 lakhs per year, and it is subject to change. Like maybe in the coming years, it'll change by 5 to 10%, but it's around 5 lakhs as a whole. The cost for food and maintenance and all of that is, I think, around 1.5 2 lakhs. The housing fee, when it comes to housing, Flame has three types of housings. Type A, B, C. Type A is rooms without AC and they have no common bathroom, so it's like an apartment style with three let me mention that each room at Flame is twin sharing. You can't have a room by yourself or more than two people. It's always two people in a single room. So when it comes to type A, There are three rooms, and they have a common bathroom with uh, yeah, they have common bathrooms. When it comes to type B, it's individual rooms with attached bathrooms but no AC. And then there's type C with attached bathroom and attached AC. So, and the fee for all three of them is completely different. Type A has no extra charges, so it gets covered in your 1.5 lakh itself. If I'm not wrong, type B is around 75,000 and type C is around 90,000 for per year.
And are these
And
rooms
so your tuition fees is around 8 to 10 lakhs, so which brings you around 11 lakhs.
and are these rooms very close to your classes or where it's conducted, or do you have to walk a lot on the campus? How does that work?
So basically, our campus is somewhat round in shape. So the academic spines are in the building. I mean, in the center. So there are different types of housing for these different buildings. Like type A have different blocks, whereas type B and C have different blocks. So type B and C are a little further away. It takes you around 5 to 10 minutes walk to get to your classes. But the type A housing is really close by. It takes you a minute or two to reach your classes from type A housings.
Wonderful. And now let's talk about academics at Flame, right? A little bit deep dive. So you are somebody, one of those students who's also looked at the ICSE rigor, and then you've also been somebody who's done the A levels. And one of the biggest concerns that a lot of students, when they talk to me, are like, if I have studied an international board throughout, not just ICSE, right? Like my entire schooling has either been in Cambridge or, MYP, and I've always been used to that kind of a board. How easy is the transition for somebody who studied in an international board through and through, to Flame in terms of the studying methodologies? Does it align more to the international board, meaning application based learning, project learning, outside the box thinking, or is it more like the ICSE way, where the rigor and learning formulae and all of those? Again, each have their own pros and cons, but which one is it, and how do you think, would it be easy for a student from an international board to transition to Flame? What's your take on that?
So I'd say it's a perfect mix of both the boards, and there are different courses that have different approaches. And so basically, if you look at different courses like, say, math, there's one class for linear algebra, one for probability. It's taught by different professors. So these professors decide their curriculums for themselves. So it depends on the professor themselves if they want to take a curriculum that is more rigorous, that focuses on a lot of solving, or if they want to take more project oriented curriculum. So, like if I had to give an example, my calculus class, our professor, 40% of our grade is one project where we have to take an example of one of the concepts in math and show how that concept is used in real world. And that constitutes of 40% of our grade. But whereas I have another class called as probability, where our entire course is all about tests, it's all about solving and then giving the test. There are three tests that happen throughout the semester, and all of them have different weightage. So I'd say both of them have equal weightage, and it depends on the professor. But if I have to say, for a student coming from an international board, I don't think they're gonna face any issue at all, because at the end of the day, Flame does indulge in a lot of learning and not mugging up. So which is the same ideology that the international boards follow. So they wouldn't face any issues at all.
Perfect. Three things about Flame non-academically that stand out, like any festival, any club, anything that is something that you enjoyed, and it's probably the three things that you'd probably tell your kids or grandkids about the highlights of Flame. So what would those three things be?
I think Flame has a very, very good sports center. It is, I think, one of the best sports centers in India as a university. It has all sports you can possibly think of: basketball, squash, tennis. There has a gym, everything. So that is one place that a lot of us really like going. It even has snooker tables. So it is one of the best sports centers I've ever seen for a university. When it comes to clubs, there are a bunch of different clubs, and I like the fact that each and every student at Flame has some club to go to, like be it a queer collective, be it an academic club like math or psychology, or be it a sport club. There is a club for each and everybody, and each and everybody's passion. So that is one thing that I really love, the amount of clubs that it has, and all of these clubs are so active. They always have different initiatives, and it's one of the coolest things that's happening on campus, because every second day there's a event that's happening on campus organized by some or the other club. And there's this fest that happens called as Flame Fest, where whoever wants to participate, the entire college is divided into different teams, and there are different fun activities like fashion shows, dance, there's singing, there's lip sync. There are all of these activities that are happening, and then everybody are competing just for a week. There are no curfews on campus, everybody are in a happy mode, and this is usually just before exams, like 2 3 weeks before exams. So it's such a great breather for everybody. So it's one of the best times during campus. And apart from this, there's also this one thing called as the Kurukshetra, which is where different colleges are invited to Flame for different sport events. And again, the atmosphere at Flame is at a different high during that time. And I think each and every student at Flame loves being a part of Kurukshetra.
Wow, wonderful. And what about safety? Like, I mean, I know girls and boys live differently, and usually, Pune is considered a very, very kind of safe place. But how does that work? Like, what are your curfew hours? After what point in time are girls or boys generally not allowed to step out? How does the safety aspect of flame work?
So, Flame is very, very safe when it comes to anything and everything. In fact, you're not even allowed to get like contrabands inside campus. There are continuous checkings or at the gate. There are guards everywhere. You can't not be in the eyes of Flame when you're at Flame. And when it comes to if you step outside the campus, there are these shuttle services that take you to the city and they'll get you back. So even the traveling part is completely safe, and it is completely free of cost as well. Pune as a city is very safe, I must say. Obviously, each city has its own certain level of threat, but that depends on you as a person, on how you are mindful about it. I think that is one part that really helps you mature and grow as an individual. That you know what you're doing, you don't get into trouble. So when you're on your own, obviously there is a that completely depends on you. But as long as you're inside the Flame boundaries and supervised by Flame, there is no threat at all. There is absolute safety, and it is 100% one of the most secure campuses in India.
Wow, wonderful. Good to know. Anything else that you'd like for the viewers to know about Flame, about your experience that I probably missed out on asking you, that you think may add a lot of value for somebody considering Flame as a very serious choice? Anything that I missed out and you'd like to have, put it out to the viewers?
You're lagging a lot. I can't understand.
It's going to come now. Yeah. So I'm just saying, is there anything particularly that you'd like the viewers or listeners to know about Flame that I missed out while asking? Something that you think is absolutely unmissable, and something that something that you think people don't know this about Flame, but hey, this is the reality, and you should know this.
I think one thing that people don't usually know about Flame and is one of the most integral part is the discom committee. So basically Flame, if you do something on campus that you're not allowed to do according to the Flame's handbook, there's this committee, there's this jury that sits, and you need to plead your case in front of them, and then they're going to give you a punishment based on the crime that you committed. And a lot of time, a lot of people don't know about it, but it is such a big part of our college life at Flame, because everybody is always trying to like not get caught or like do something that gets them into trouble. And even though it's a punishment like grounding or suspension, it just, I think it's a very fun part of it. Just so basically, if you get discom, you need to dress up in formals and go in front of them. It's an experience by itself. So and that is something that somewhere down the line each and every Flame student enjoys. Even though it's a punishment, everybody wants to go through it at least once before, like, not get into major trouble, but just go through that part of Flame. So there it is. My point of this part of Flame was that even though there are these rules and there are these different like Flame wants you to be a perfect student and a perfect human being, there are some parts of Flame that are so fun to be like. Even though it's supposed to be a punishment, everybody at Flame find it so fun to do it that I don't know how to explain it. Like,
It's like wanting to go to a courtroom, commit a crime so that you're taken to the courtroom so that you can experience the courtroom.
yeah, yeah, it's like a real world all in itself. It has everything inside. You go through life inside Flame, is all
Wow.
I'd say.
Wow. Wow, perfect. So I think I had all the information that I needed. I think I got all the content of the reel also that I was looking for. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, I would like to thank you for your time. We've almost been to about 51 minutes, even if we cut down the, whatever. So yeah, thank you so much, Yuvika, for being on this interview. It was such a great time. I learned so much about Flame, about Feet, about the community at Flame, and what kind of culture it entails, and how the public perception of Flame is so different from what a student usually tells us. And I'm sure a lot of students who want to experience living abroad in India in a fourth of the cost, this is Flame is the place to be, and they can definitely go ahead and experience that. So thank you for putting it out there for all of our students, and thank you so much for your time, Yuvik. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. I am going to now turn off the recording.